Hello, free spirits. Welcome back. Today we're gonna talk about what is anxiety and what can we do about it. When we feel anxious is because we have excessive worry about something happening in the future. It can involve fear or excessive worry or both. When we feel anxious is because we're focusing on the likelihood of serious threat or danger, and we are focusing on our perceived inability to cope with this potential danger or threat, and also we think about our personal vulnerability or helplessness. This is what we call an anxious thinking or anxious mindset. To change this, we have to go through the change process, and we want to attain what we call a normalized thinking. A normalized thinking is achieved by concentrating on the realistic likelihood of a variety of events that could happen in the future. And we also focus on our own ability to cope and in our strength or resilience. I'm going to give you 8 tools that are going to help you normalize your thinking and manage your anxiety in a healthy way. But before I do that, let's examine what causes anxiety in the first place. Why are some people anxious and others are not? According to Mash and Wolf in their book Abnormal Child Psychology, there are different types of anxiety in children and adolescents. As in most mental health issues, anxiety is caused by biology or genetics and also environment or family. There is moderate biological vulnerability to anxiety. Some children are born with a tendency to become excessively worried or overexcited over things, and this may be caused by neurobiological mechanisms in their brain, especially in the limbic system, which is linked to emotions. With respect to the environment, early theories of psychology pointed to anxiety caused by internal conflict that has not been resolved. So this implies that some anxiety may be caused by unconscious patterns. But in the majority of cases, anxiety starts in middle childhood or early childhood. Parenting practices that are overly protective, too intrusive, or too restrictive have been linked to early anxiety in children. Parents' use of discipline and their own modeling of anxious behavior has also been related to causing anxiety in children. There is a strong relationship between mothers who use excessive control and children with anxiety. But at the same time, research shows that children who are anxious elicit more control or protection from their mothers. Family dysfunction also plays a strong role in developing anxiety in early childhood. Prolonged exposure to high levels of family dysfunction has also been related to some of the most extreme anxiety in middle childhood. A dysfunctional family is a family where conflict, misbehavior, and often child neglect or abuse are present continuously. Families that are dysfunctional typically use control, blame, they don't trust each other, they don't talk honestly, and they control other people's emotions and rights, and family members don't show their emotions. What can we do to feel less anxious? The first approach is to think about anxiety as something that happens to every human being in their lifetime. We don't want to completely eliminate anxiety. Our feelings of fear or worry are there for a reason. But what we don't want to let happen is anxiety taking control of your life. The 8 tools to manage anxiety according to experts is number 1, normalize the behavior from the start. It is a good idea to differentiate between normal anxiety and excessive anxiety. How do you react when you are normally anxious, and how do you react when you are excessively anxious? And before it gets to an excessive mindset, try to catch those thoughts before they get out of control, normalizing your anxiety from the beginning. Ask yourself, how can I think more normally about my anxious concern over this situation? Tool number 2 is catching automatic anxious thoughts. The brain is like a muscle. The more you exercise this practice, the better you will get at it. Some people have become used about thinking in negative patterns. Catastrophizing is thinking that the worst is going to happen. And this has become a habit that is difficult to break. The anxious mind has taken over before you realize it. Catching your automatic negative thoughts is key to manage anxiety before it takes over you. Number 3, gather evidence. Every time you have an anxious thought of fear or worry, think about what is the evidence supporting this thought. What is the likelihood that this is going to happen? Most of the time, people who have become used to anxiety and anxious thinking have abandoned all reasoning skills and emotion takes over. Ask yourself, do I have strong evidence to prove that this situation is going to happen for sure? Tool number 4, do a cost-benefit analysis to really bring your reasoning skills to your emotions and think, what is the benefit of me worrying excessively about this situation? Your anxious way of seeing yourself and the world has become normal and part of your mindset. But take a moment to stop and think, what is the cost that I'm paying? Number 5 is Decatastrophizing the Fear. Catastrophizing is a common term in cognitive behavioral therapy that refers to a person's way of thinking patterns that tend to think about the worst outcome possible of a situation. The ultimate fear underlying anxiety is the worst case scenario. Sometimes exposing yourself to that situation is the only way to prove yourself that there is no worst case scenario. It also helps to have a plan to cope with a disaster, a plan B in case that something goes wrong. If you are afraid of public speaking, the best way to overcome the fear is to do as much public speaking as possible. The secret is to train yourself more and more to become aware of your anxious thinking. Tool number 6 is correcting thinking patterns. There's nothing more important than becoming aware of your own anxious thinking and detecting the errors in these thinking patterns. Correcting thinking errors is the ability to take these thoughts that you have identified and catch before it takes over your mind like a snowball effect. You're going to correct this thought and you're going to give it a more positive twist. Becoming highly conscious of the way you think, your internal dialogue, is key to correcting thinking errors that make you excessively anxious. When correcting thinking errors, it's very helpful to have a piece of paper or a notebook in front of you so you can practice yourself writing down the thoughts that you catch and that you are becoming self-aware of this negative thinking. And on the other side of the page, you're going to write a positive thought or a more positive equivalent to that negative thought. Tool number 7, developing alternative perspectives. At this point, you are developing a healthier, more reasonable explanation for your excessive worry or fear. You're gonna go from an intellectual understanding and having a different perspective to truly believing it in your heart and in your emotions. You will see that slowly you're gonna train your brain to shift a thinking behavior into a more healthier, realistic, and positive thought. You are training your brain to think less negatively and more positive about outcomes. Let's say that you have a client that always arrives 10 or 15 minutes late for appointments. You have talked to this person and this client keeps arriving late. Negative thinking or catastrophizing could be that you start thinking that this person is doing it on purpose, or that they are trying to trick you or do whatever they want, disrespecting you. An alternative thinking could be that this client doesn't have transportation to arrive on time to your appointments, and this person is afraid to tell you honestly what's going on. Tool number 8 is practicing every day this normalizing approach to your lifestyle and to your behavior patterns. Every time you have an opportunity, when you think about something that gives you anxiety, immediately think, what is the worst that can happen if I do this? What is the most probable outcome in this situation? Is the most likely situation really that negative or intolerable? If the most likely outcome happens, how can I cope with it? What aspects of this situation actually make it safer than I think? You can have these 4 questions always available near you so you can practice every day decatastrophizing and thinking about alternative outcomes to your worries and fears. I hope this was helpful and interesting. If you find this video and this information helpful, share it with your friends and family who may benefit from it. Thank you for watching. As always, take care of yourselves, stay healthy, and I will see you in the next video.